The cold light of alien ships filled the observation deck of Luna Command as Admiral Lee Hanna stared at the massive fleet positioned at the edge of their solar system. 200 enormous vessels hung in the darkness like metal predators waiting to strike. Each ship was larger than anything humanity had ever built, at least according to what the aliens could see. "Admiral, the transmission is coming through now," said Commander Park Jun from his station. His young face was tense as he worked the controls. The translation computers had been working for hours to decode the alien message. The main screen flickered to life, showing a tall creature with 4 arms and skin that looked like polished stone. Its voice was deep and cold when it spoke. "Primitive creatures of the 3rd planet, you will listen carefully. I am High Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Hegemony. We have claimed your star system for our expansion. You have 30 of your rotations to remove yourselves from this world." Hannah felt her jaw tighten but kept her expression neutral. Around the command center, her officers watched in silence. They had trained for this moment, but seeing it happen was different from the simulations. The alien continued speaking. "We have observed your species. You fight endless wars among yourselves. Your technology is crude and inefficient. Your fastest ships barely reach your nearest moon. We offer you transport to worlds more suitable for your limited capabilities. This is an act of mercy." The creature's 4 eyes seemed to look directly at Hannah through the screen. "Do not mistake our kindness for weakness. We have pacified 17 worlds in this sector. Your primitive weapons cannot harm our vessels. Your divided nations cannot stand against the hegemony. Accept our generous offer, or we will take this world by force." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Lieutenant Choi Yuna was the first to speak. "Sir, they really think we're just going to pack up and leave." "Look at their formation," said Park Jun, pointing to the tactical display. "They're not even trying to hide their positions. No defensive patterns, no scouts checking for hidden threats. They think this is going to be easy." Hannah walked to the main display and studied the alien fleet. The ships were impressive, but their commanders were making mistakes. Big mistakes. They had positioned themselves exactly where Earth's hidden sensors had been tracking them for months. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this day for almost a century. "They scanned our public technology," she said quietly. "Chemical rockets, nuclear weapons, satellites that look like they were built in a garage. They saw our news broadcasts showing wars and conflicts. They think we're exactly what we appear to be." She turned to face her officers. "What they don't know is that everything they observed was designed to make them think exactly that." Park Jun smiled grimly. "The old appear weak when you are strong strategy." "More than that," Hannah replied. "We've been appearing weak for generations while building something they can't even imagine." She walked to her command chair and activated a special communication system that existed in complete secrecy. The quantum encryption was invisible to alien sensors, connecting her to military commanders across Earth and throughout the solar system. "Dr. Kim Minho, this is Luna Command. Are you receiving?" The reply came instantly from a location the aliens would never detect. "Receiving clearly, Admiral. Terra Defense Protocol is ready for activation. All units, confirm status." Voices began responding from locations across human space, hidden bases on Mars, concealed platforms in the asteroid belt, ships waiting in dimensions the aliens didn't know existed. Each commander reported ready status using technology that would have shocked the Zephyrians if they could have detected it. Ghost Fleet reports all vessels in position and maintaining quantum stealth. Asteroid defense grid is online and targeting solutions are locked. Phase shift artillery batteries report ready to fire on command. Hannah nodded with satisfaction. The aliens saw a primitive species with crude technology and divided loyalties. In reality, they were facing the most dangerous predator their galaxy had ever encountered. "Execute Phase 1, she ordered. "Begin the diplomatic response protocol. Within minutes, transmissions began broadcasting from Earth to the alien fleet. The messages appeared desperate and confused. Earth's government seemed to be arguing with each other about whether to surrender or fight. Some nations appeared ready to negotiate, while others talked about resistance. The aliens would intercept these communications and see exactly what they expected: a primitive world in panic, unable to coordinate any real defense. They would never suspect that every message was carefully planned to reinforce their assumptions about human weakness. Thought as the fake diplomatic chaos played out on the public channels, Hannah activated another secure line. All units, this is Luna Command. The enemy has taken the bait. They believe we are as weak and divided as we appear. Maintain all stealth protocols. Wait for my signal. She looked out at the alien fleet one more time. 200 ships full of creatures who thought they were about to conquer an easy target. They had no idea they were about to learn why humanity had survived ice ages, plagues, and nuclear wars. Their first mistake was thinking Earth wouldn't respond. Their last mistake would be underestimating what that response would look like. 3 kilometers beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Kim Min-ho stood in a command center that officially did not exist. The room was massive, filled with holographic displays, showing the real state of Earth's defenses. Technology that had been hidden from the world for decades hummed quietly in the shadows. Status report from all sectors. Min-ho called out to his team. Lieutenant Choi Yuna looked up from her station, her fingers dancing across controls that projected 3-dimensional star maps. All ghost platforms are maintaining perfect stealth. Sir, the alien scanners are passing right through them without detecting anything. Captain Jung Johan materialized beside Min-ho, not through any door but by stepping out of what looked like empty air. The phase shift technology that allowed him to move through folded space was just one of many secrets humanity had developed while pretending to struggle with basic rocket science. The enemy scouts are still buying our performance, Jung reported, with a slight smile. They're sending regular updates to their main fleet about how terrified and divided we appear to be. On the main display, intercepted alien communications showed exactly what the Zephyrians were thinking. They were laughing at humanity's apparent panic. Their commanders were already making plans for dividing up Earth's resources, confident that the primitive humans would surrender within days. What the aliens could not see were the quantum-encrypted channels connecting every major military installation on the planet. While Earth's public communications showed chaos and fear, the real military network was calm and coordinated. Orders flowed smoothly between commanders who had been preparing for this moment their entire careers. Show me the surface feeds, Min-ho ordered. The displays changed to show news broadcasts from around the world. On every channel, the story was the same. Governments were arguing about whether to fight or surrender. Military leaders gave interviews talking about their hopeless situation. Politicians made speeches about the impossible choice facing humanity in Seoul. Protesters filled the streets, demanding their government to negotiate with the aliens. In Washington, senators argued loudly about constitutional authority during an alien invasion. In Moscow, military officials claimed they were preparing to fight while others called for immediate surrender. It was all carefully planned theater, designed to feed the aliens exactly what they expected to see. Every angry speech, every desperate plea, every sign of division had been written months ago by teams of experts who understood alien psychology. The Korean Peninsula operation is proceeding perfectly, reported Major Lee Soman from her hidden station. Public communications show us mobilizing against Japan, just as planned. The aliens think we're about to start fighting each other instead of them. Min-ho nodded approvingly. The fake crisis between Korea and Japan was one of his favorite touches. Humanity's enemies always expected them to turn on each other during a crisis, so they gave them exactly that expectation. Meanwhile, Korean and Japanese forces were coordinating perfectly through channels the aliens could never detect. European theater report, he requested. All going according to script, sir. The European powers are having very public arguments about refugee allocation and defense responsibilities. The aliens are recording every heated exchange. They have no idea that every European military unit is actually operating under unified Terra Command protocols. The beautiful irony was not lost on Minho. Humanity's greatest strength had always been their ability to work together when it truly mattered, but they had spent decades convincing potential enemies that they were hopelessly divided. Every public conflict, every international dispute, every sign of human disunity had been carefully managed to maintain this deception. Time since first alien contact detection, he asked. 18 months, 4 days, 7 hours, Jung replied. Immediately. More than enough time to move all our real assets into position. 18 months of careful preparation, while maintaining the illusion of normalcy. 18 months of positioning weapons platforms that looked like space debris, moving ships into dimensional fold space where no alien sensor could find them, and coordinating the responses of a dozen different governments, while making it look like they could barely agree on anything. Show me fleet status, Minho commanded. The display revealed the truth that would have terrified the Zephyrians if they could see it. Thousands of human vessels waited in hidden positions throughout the solar system. Some hung in dimensional fold space, others used stealth technology that made them invisible to alien sensors, and still others had been disguised as asteroids or space debris for months. Admiral Hanna reports that Luna Command is receiving increasingly confident communications from the alien fleet, Choi reported. They're so convinced of our weakness that they're barely maintaining proper military protocols. Their security is relaxed, their formations are casual, and their commanders are already celebrating victory. Minho allowed himself a cold smile. Perfect. The more confident they become, the more devastating our response will be. He activated a secure channel to commanders across the solar system. All units, this is Terra Command. The enemy has fully committed to their assumptions about our capabilities. Phase 2 will begin in 6 hours. Maintain all deception protocols until the signal is given. Above them, the alien fleet waited with growing impatience for humanity's inevitable surrender. They intercepted more desperate human communications, more signs of panic and division. They congratulated themselves on choosing such weak prey. They had no idea that Earth's apparent weakness was humanity's greatest weapon, and that their confidence was about to become their downfall. Commander Zolfek felt almost embarrassed as he led the Zephyrian advance fleet toward the inner solar system. His tactical displays showed what could only be described as pathetic human defenses. A few small orbital platforms that barely looked functional, some primitive missile batteries that seemed to be held together with metal patches, and a tiny patrol force of 5 human ships that looked like they had been built in someone's backyard. "Sir, this is almost insulting," said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Morden. "These humans can barely keep their ships from falling apart, and they think they can stop us." Zolfek studied the approaching human vessels on his screen. They were small, maybe 1/10 the size of his smallest warship. Their hulls showed signs of what looked like constant repairs. Their weapon signatures were so weak that his computers had trouble detecting them at all. "I almost feel sorry for them," he muttered. "Do they really think those toys can hurt our ships?" The human patrol force was moving to intercept his advanced squadron of 50 vessels. It was like watching children with wooden swords trying to fight trained warriors. The aliens had expected some kind of desperate last stand, but this was beyond ridiculous. "Incoming transmission from the human ships," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Zolfek ordered, curious to hear what these primitive creatures would say. The face that appeared on his screen belonged to a young, human female, in what looked like a poorly maintained military uniform. Her ship's bridge looked cramped and outdated behind her. "This is Lieutenant Park Soyan, of the Earth Defense Force," she said in a voice that tried to sound official, but couldn't hide her fear. You are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Zoltek's officers began laughing. The human continued speaking, but her words were almost lost in the alien amusement. We have weapons capable of destroying your entire fleet, she said, but her voice shook as she spoke. Leave now, or face the consequences. Did she just threaten us? Asked Lieutenant Morden between fits of laughter. With what? Those scrap metal ships. Zoltek raised his hand for silence. He wanted to respond to this brave but foolish human personally. Little creature, you show courage, but you do not understand what you face. We will disable your engines and capture you for study. Do not make this harder than necessary. The human's face disappeared from the screen. Zoltek's tactical officer immediately began targeting the 5 human ships. Sir, shall I aim for their weapon systems first? No need, Zoltek replied. Just target their engines. We want them intact. The engagement began at exactly 14:23. Ship time according to the Zephyrian chronometer. Zoltek expected it to last maybe 10 minutes, as his ships systematically disabled the primitive human vessels. It lasted exactly 47 seconds. The first indication that something was wrong came when 17 of his dreadnoughts simply disappeared, not destroyed in explosions or torn apart by weapons fire, but literally erased from existence, as if they had never been there at all. What just happened? Zoltek shouted at his tactical officer, who was staring at his displays in complete shock. I don't know, sir. 17 ships, just ... vanished. No explosion, no debris, nothing. They're just gone. Before anyone could respond, the 5 human ships did something impossible. They faded out of normal space like ghosts, becoming translucent before disappearing entirely. Zoltek had never seen technology like that in his 40 years of military service. Where did they go? He demanded. Unknown, sir. They're not showing up on any sensors. It's like they moved into another dimension. That was when the asteroids started shooting. What had looked like ordinary space rocks suddenly came alive with weapon signatures that made Zoltek's blood run cold. Massive energy beams lanced out from positions throughout the asteroid belt, striking his ships with precision that seemed impossible. These weren't the crude nuclear weapons his scouts had reported. These were energy weapons more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian arsenal. Evasive maneuvers. He screamed, but it was too late. The automated platforms hidden among the asteroids had perfect targeting solutions on every ship in his fleet. His vessels, which had seemed so powerful moments before, were being torn apart like paper. Sir, we've lost another 12 ships. These weapons are cutting right through our shields like they don't exist. Zoltek watched in horror as his proud advance fleet was systematically destroyed by an enemy that had appeared to be helpless. The human ships reappeared just long enough to fire weapons he couldn't identify before vanishing again into whatever impossible space they occupied. Retreat. All ships retreat to the main fleet, he ordered, his voice cracking with panic as his surviving vessels fled toward the outer system. Zoltek tried to understand what had just happened. In less than a minute, the humans had reduced his 50-ship advance force to 33. Damaged vessels using technology that shouldn't exist. Get me High Commander Veltar immediately, he ordered. Tell him we have seriously underestimated these humans. They're not primitive at all. They've been lying to us. The communication officer's face was pale. Sir, what do I tell him about our losses? Zoltek stared at the tactical display, showing the positions of his dead ships. Tell him that everything we thought we knew about humanity is wrong. Tell him we're not facing primitives with crude weapons. We're facing something much more dangerous. As his fleet limped back toward the main Zephyrian force, one thought kept running through his mind. If this was what the humans could do with just 5 small ships and some hidden platforms, what else were they hiding? Admiral Kotar stared at his tactical display in complete disbelief. The reports from Commander Zoltek had seemed impossible when he first heard them, But now his entire fleet was facing the truth. What had appeared to be simple orbital defense platforms were revealing themselves as weapons capable of cracking planets. The small human patrol vessels were demonstrating faster than light, technology that made Zephyrian ships look like ancient relics. "How many ships are decloaking now?" he asked his tactical officer, his voice barely steady. 200, 400. "Sir, I've stopped counting. They're appearing everywhere. Some are materializing from what looks like folded space. Others are dropping stealth fields we didn't even know existed." Kotar watched in growing horror as hundreds of human vessels appeared around his fleet. Each ship was sleek, advanced, and clearly built, with technology far beyond anything the hegemony possessed. These weren't the crude, patched-together vessels his scouts had reported. These were warships that belonged to a civilization centuries ahead of his own. "Sir, we're receiving boarding signals," reported his communications officer. "The humans are demanding we prepare for inspection." "Boarding signals? How can they board us? We're in the middle of space combat." His question was answered when armed figures simply appeared on his bridge. One moment the command deck was empty except for his crew. The next moment it was filled with humans in powered armor that made them look like mechanical demons. The lead figure removed her helmet, revealing the face of a young human female with cold, calculating eyes. Captain Ominje looked around the bridge with the confidence of someone who had already won the battle. "I am Captain Ominje of the Terra Defense Force," she announced through her suit's translator. "This vessel is now under human control. Order your crew to stand down." Kotar found himself staring into the eyes of what he had thought was a primitive creature. But these weren't the eyes of someone who struggled to reach their own moon. These were the eyes of an apex predator that had been pretending to be prey. "How did you get onto my ship?" he demanded. "Our shields are still active." "Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons and physical objects," Minje replied calmly. "They can't stop personal teleportation technology." Before Kotar could respond, every screen on his bridge flickered and changed. The face of a human male appeared on every display throughout the ship. Dr. Kim Minho looked directly at the alien admiral as if he could see him personally. "Admiral Kotar of the Zephyrian hegemony," Minho began, his voice eerily calm. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Dr. Kim Minho, Director of the Terra Defense Initiative. For 87 years, we have been watching your species and others, like you, expand through the galaxy." Kotar's blood ran cold. 87 years. That was before the Zephyrians had even developed faster-than-light travel. How long had the humans been observing them? "We have studied your technologies, analyzed your military tactics, and prepared for the day you would notice our world," Minho continued. "Every piece of information you gathered about humanity was carefully designed to give you exactly the impression we wanted." On the displays around the bridge, images began appearing that made Kotar's heart sink. Human ships that could fold space-time, weapons that manipulated matter at the quantum level, defense systems that spanned entire star systems, technology that redefined what was possible. "You believed we were weak because we showed you weakness," Minho said. "You assumed we were divided because we allowed you to see division. You thought we were primitive because we chose to appear primitive." The tactical display updated to show the true scope of human military capability. Thousands of ships that had been invisible moments before, orbital fortresses that dwarfed the largest Zephyrian dreadnoughts, weapon platforms hidden throughout the solar system, each one capable of destroying entire fleets. "This is impossible," Kotar whispered. "Your species was barely capable of chemical rockets when we first observed you." Captain Minje smiled coldly. "Those chemical rockets were museum pieces we kept flying to maintain the illusion. Our real space program has been using antimatter drives for 60 years. "The nuclear weapons we detected?" Kotar asked desperately. "Decorative fireworks compared to our quantum destructors," she replied. We kept a few nuclear missiles around in case anyone was watching. It's amazing how primitive technology can hide advanced systems when you want it to. Dr. Minho's voice filled the bridge again. Your scouts reported that humanity was constantly at war with itself. Those conflicts were carefully managed exercises designed to test our coordination, while appearing chaotic to outside observers. Every battle, every political crisis, every sign of human weakness was performed for your benefit. The alien admiral slumped in his command chair as the full scope of his mistake became clear. His species had spent decades preparing to conquer what they thought was a primitive world. Instead, they had walked into a trap set by the most advanced military force the galaxy had ever seen. "What do you want from us?" he asked quietly. Minja's expression didn't change. "We want to send a message to the galaxy. You're going to help us deliver it." On every screen throughout the Zephyrian fleet, the same message appeared. Humanity is no longer hiding. The age of easy conquest is over. Welcome to the new reality. Kota realized that his fleet hadn't just been defeated. They had been chosen as the example that would announce humanity's emergence as the galaxy's new apex predator. 72 hours after the Zephyrian hegemony had expected to begin their simple occupation of Earth, Admiral Lee Hanna stood in Luna Command, watching the systematic destruction of alien military forces across 7 different star systems. Her tactical displays showed human fleets emerging from hidden positions throughout the galaxy, striking with precision that left no room for alien resistance. "Report from the Kepler system," she ordered. Commander Park Jun looked up from his console with satisfaction. "Captain Song Wubin reports complete success, Admiral. All hegemony shipyards have been captured intact. Their main construction facilities are now under human control. Vega system status. Lieutenant Colonel Bei Jiwan has secured their primary fleet base. Military resistance has been eliminated, but civilian populations remain unharmed as ordered." Hanna nodded approvingly. The simultaneous attacks across multiple star systems were proceeding exactly as planned. Humanity's true fleet, hidden for decades in dimensional fold space and behind advanced stealth technology, had emerged to demonstrate a level of military coordination that shocked every species monitoring the conflict. The aliens had never imagined that the primitive humans struggling with chemical rockets were actually capable of faster-than-light communication, instantaneous troop deployment, and weapons that could destroy planets. What they had mistaken for a divided, weak civilization was revealing itself as the most dangerous unified force the galaxy had ever encountered. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different hegemony worlds," reported Lieutenant Choi Yuna. "They're asking for terms. Ignore them for now," Hanna replied coldly. "We're not interested in their surrender. We're interested in making sure every species in the galaxy understands what happens when someone threatens Earth." On her main display, she could see the results of humanity's carefully planned revelation. Alien news networks across the galaxy were broadcasting footage of human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere, weapons that defied known physics, and military tactics that suggested centuries of advanced planning. Dr. Kim Minho materialized on the bridge using the same teleportation technology that had allowed human forces to board enemy ships without warning. His face showed the calm satisfaction of someone whose life's work had finally reached its conclusion. "The galaxy-wide broadcast is ready, Admiral," he reported. "We've commandeered every major communication network in known space. Every civilized world will receive our message simultaneously." "Proceed," Hanna ordered. Throughout the galaxy, on thousands of worlds belonging to dozens of different species, every communication device suddenly displayed the same image. Dr. Kim Minho appeared on screens in alien homes, military command centers, government buildings, and starships. His calm, measured voice spoke in perfect translation to every language in the known galaxy. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began, "we are humanity. We are from the 3rd planet of the Sol system, which some of you have recently learned to call Earth, for over 100 years. We have been listening to your transmissions, observing your expansions, and studying your methods. Images flashed across the transmission, showing human technology that redefined what was possible. Ships that could fold space-time, weapons that manipulated matter at the quantum level, defensive systems that spanned solar systems. Technology that made the most advanced alien civilizations look primitive by comparison. You observed our chemical rockets and believed we could barely reach our moon. You detected our nuclear weapons and thought them laughably weak. You monitored our conflicts and assumed we were hopelessly divided. These observations were not accidents. They were carefully constructed deceptions designed to hide our true capabilities while we prepared for this day. The transmission showed footage from the recent battle, Zephyrian dreadnoughts being erased from existence by human weapons, alien fleets being systematically dismantled across multiple star systems, human ships appearing and disappearing at will using technology no other species possessed. For generations, your civilizations have expanded through the galaxy, conquering worlds and subjugating species you considered inferior. You have operated under the assumption that military might and technological superiority gave you the right to take what you wanted from those weaker than yourselves. Minho's expression remained calm, but his words carried a weight that made entire planetary governments reconsider their foreign policies. That assumption is no longer valid. We are not your prey. We are not your subjects to be relocated at your convenience. We are not a problem for you to solve through military force. We are the solution to a problem you didn't know you had. The transmission showed the current state of the Zephyrian fleet. Once mighty warships, drifting powerless in space, their crews captured or eliminated. The military force that had conquered 17 worlds in recent years had been completely neutralized in less than 3 days. The Zephyrian hegemony made the mistake of threatening our world. They assumed that because we appeared weak, we actually were weak. They believed that because our technology seemed primitive, we posed no real threat. They thought that because our governments appeared divided, we could not coordinate an effective response. The final images showed human fleets patrolling former hegemony territory, ensuring that alien civilians were protected while military forces were systematically dismantled. The age of casual expansion and easy conquest is over. Any species that threatens human territory, human allies, or human interests will discover what the Zephyrians learned too late. We have been preparing for you. We have been watching you, and we are ready. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In 72 hours, humanity had announced itself not as another species to be catalogued and potentially conquered, but as the new apex predator in a galaxy that had forgotten what real predators looked like.